teaching us how to turn this work into a rhythm. That it's not all encompassing. It's not meant to deplete us. It's not meant to take up all of our time and energy and make it like, no matter, we can't function in life until we've cleaned out the clutter. It's saying, hey, this took a whole world. It took your whole life to get to where you are. It's going to be a little bit of a journey. It's going to be a practice. It's like, I think the page that I love the most is Don't Forget Yourself. It's on page 41. I totally recommend we all read that again. But she said, while death cleaning, you must not forget to take care of your present life, your home, maybe the garden, and yourself. If you decide to downsize your home, it's a good thing not to be in a hurry. If possible, you should take your time and proceed at a pace that suits you. It will be absorbing, but also tiring sometimes, but it is important that you don't overdo it. Doesn't that make so much sense? It's this gentle wisdom of knowing that this is going to take a little bit of time. There's a lot of energy involved. And instead of thinking you're behind, how many people feel like hands wave or thumbs up, feel like you're behind? Like you should have already done this by now, right? And so we beat ourselves up, but really it's just right. And so we're like, we should be behind, but we're not behind. And I love what she said last time, and she had a little chapter on that last reading, was about pacing herself. And that's what she did. She's like, I know this is going to be a big project. I don't have anybody to help me. I'm going to have to pace myself. And I loved how she said, I gave myself a whole year. And she put it room by room and kind of spread it out through the year. And she made sure she had pauses of rest and rejuvenation in between her work. So she wasn't like, I'm behind, I need to go. So there's that feeling of anxiety of like, I'm behind and I should have done better. And so what that does is it tightens up your whole energy system. It makes you not think as well. So there was some science I ran into, I don't even know when this was written, 2016, but it was one of these moments that just changed my life. And I think if we learned anything in this class is how to do this practice, how to do clutter clearing in a kind way, in a joyful way, in an energizing way, because this is a lifelong practice. I mean, we're always downsizing and shifting. That's not going to change. But how do we do it in a way that nourishes us? So when we think about it as work, as something we don't want to do, we have to do, we're driving in, we have to fight our way through it, then what that actually does is it makes us stressed and it makes us not as smart, not as creative, not as good at problem solvers. But here's the science that just will, hopefully we're going to work through this and make this a whole deeper practice of how to enjoy our work. Because when we are happy, when the human brain is positive, our intelligence rises and we stop diverting resources to thinking about anxiety. So when we're positive, we're not spending all the time thinking about what we can't do, how hard it's going to be, how emotional it's going to be, what we can't figure out. We actually start using our brains the way they can. When we're happy, our creativity triples and our productivity energy rises by 31%. We process things better. When we're happy, our work is going to be so much easier. If we come at it as left work and from a depleted state, when we're stressed and we're anxious, we're going to be running on 20% capacity. But if we do it in a way that's nourishing, that becomes part of the rhythm of our life, part of a nourishing rhythm, like that 15 minutes a day, it becomes incorporated in its life. It's no longer a challenge, but it actually becomes a grounding practice of our life, because taking care of our homes and uncluttering is really a lifelong practice. It will last our whole life. By turning these into nourishing practices that raise our energy, raise our joy, not only does it become part of the rhythm, but it actually becomes a grounding part of our nourishment. And that is a huge shift. Instead of thinking this is a job, I'm behind, I have to do it, I'm not a good person until I do it, you realize this is learning a deep practice. And that's what I think of when I run into something challenge. I think of it as a deep practice. This week, and then we're going to go right into breakout thing, but I wanted to share another aha moment on my own world. It's not like we all got it. So I'm on the computer and I'm having to do this form with the government, and it's a little anxiety creating for me. I do really good with ideas and creative flow. I am not a good reading government documents kind of brain. That is not where I thrive in. However, so I did it and I felt myself being really anxious. I can't say that was my best work. I was like anxious and pressing and pushing and trying to fight through it. So here's where the practice comes. When instead of beating myself up that I didn't get further and it didn't feel good, is to pause and go, a deep practice is in front of me. How can I make this easier? How can I relax into it? How can I make myself happier in this process? How can I get my brain up to that 31% of creativity? Because if I have to do something difficult, I really need to tap into that extra creativity, that productivity, that problem solving ability. So when we're doing a practice that has been draining on us, and a lot of these practices have been draining on generations way before you were even born in your families. And so these are deeply ingrained habits. And so what we're trying to do is shift it where these are our deep practices actually become nourishing, and this will change everything. So it's a practice. It's not an overnighter. It's a total practice, and we keep learning it and practicing. So we're about ready to go into a breakout room. So these are the two questions. First, say what your name is and where you were born, just because it's kind of interesting to see where we were all born. And then here's the two things I want you to talk about. First of all, what did you do that you were proud of this week? And it might be that you just showed up for class, and that is great. There is no wins that is small enough not to celebrate in this group. And so whatever that felt good that you did that you were proud of. And the second one is, what gentle wisdoms did you get from Margareta this week? What did you draw from her that you really want to kind of share with the group? So again, your name, where you were born, just, city, country, or state. And then what was your win, and what gentle wisdoms did you gain from the book this week? And thank you so much for Amanda and Jeanette for supporting all this and putting us all together and your awesomeness. Hey, everybody. So apparently I had technical difficulties today. My internet went out. So I didn't get a chance to see all your beautiful faces and chat with you as much. Felt a little disconnected, but I still heard you were having all these great conversations. So I'm so excited for your amazingness. But I thought I would pop in and kind of share a couple little thoughts, just in a little bit more of a relaxed atmosphere. So when I talk about bringing joy to our work, it's essential we learn not necessarily to be joy like dancing and running around wild. This is the type of joy I'm talking about. The type of nourishment I'm talking about is this gentleness. It doesn't come from outside. It's an internal feeling of satisfaction. It's internal wellness, of ease, of simplicity, where you're just like, that feels good. I want it to be nourishing work. So when we're working on building these long practices, and really when you're cleaning out a whole house, when you're downsizing it, even just keeping up with daily life, if you can turn this into a practice, because this work of taking care of a house will last our whole life. So the more we turn it into nourishing work, the less we're actually going to be working. And a lot of this work has been painful for us. I mean, it's how many hours have you been thinking about your clutter and wanting to do it? That's kind of built a natural tension to it. So instead of being tense when we do the work, we learn to be relaxed and at ease and have confidence in it, which, today I was sharing about when you're happy, what that does for you. And again, I'll repeat it because it's so important. When we're happiness, when our brain is more positive, our intelligence rises and we stop diverting resources to thinking about anxiety, which means we're not going to be thinking about if I need to do this, or what if I give this away, or I might need this. That's that kind of over analyzing that happens when we're a little bit more stressed. But when we're at ease, we're more confident. We believe that we'll be taken care of no matter what. Even if we make a tiny mistake, the world is not going to crash around. It's actually the benefits of letting ourselves have more room way outbalance any misperfections we do. And when we're comfortable and we're confident, our creativity triples and our productivity rises by 31%. Those numbers alone is why this is so important to learn to breathe. And that is the easiest way to get to learning how to enjoy it is making it simple and little. So when I talk about having simple little daily practices, it's really about shifting our habits, about shifting our mindsets. So, yes, when you have enough energy to do a big clean out and you're ready to rock and roll, by all means, keep going, do it. Because some days you just have it. But there's a lot of other days you don't have that energy. And that's what I mean by building in that consistent practices of like every day doing 15 minutes of just tidying up, a little downsizing, just rebooting your house so it always feels good, like taking care of your mail, sorting it so it doesn't build up. This is your number one way to make sure that this never happens and to keep it going. And like Margareta says, in the midst of downsizing, you want to keep your life flowing. And that's what we're doing is by that 15 minutes. And that 15 minutes can go anywhere, but I highly recommend putting it in as a time of day or a specific time. Time of day is your easiest habit because it becomes so automatic. You don't have to think. And in clutter clearing, there's so much decision making you have to make. The more you make it just an automatic, I wake up, I do A, B, and C, and then I just tidy up. And then it becomes just this non-issue. It's kind of like going for a walk. You're not going to go like, I have to walk 5 miles every day. The goal is I'm going to put my shoes on and go out the door. And the shoes on and the out the door is by far the hardest part to get in the habit of. But when you take all the pressure of having to walk 5 miles a day, and you're just like, all I have to do is put on my shoes and walk out the door, it gets more used to it. And then some days you walk 5 miles and some days you walk 2 miles or maybe 15 seconds, but you get in the habit where it's not hard anymore. So if you get up, and I think last week we talked about, if you have to kiss a bullfrog, don't spend too much time thinking about it. Well, if you wake up and you do a little bit of rebooting, no matter what happens the rest of the day, you will have had a little win. And those little wins add up. And if you think about every day, 15 minutes, every day, 15 minutes, and 7 days, you've had 15 minutes times 7, and you've had a little win every day. And one thing leads to another. And when you have little wins, then they start building on each other and you get strength and you get more confidence. And by making it tiny, you can make it more of a practice of like, okay, I'm going to maybe play a song while I do tidying up. So you make it more joyful. You remember to stand tall and have confidence. You remember to breathe. You open up some windows. You bring in some energy of the house. You do little things that just make this practice of just naturally tidying up and making your home feel good. That consistent practice is powerful. And then in addition to that, this week, add in a pocket of unprocrastinating something, do Tuesdays in the afternoon, maybe do 30 minutes of going to that procrastination pile of mail that you've been putting off and just do 30 minutes of it or 10 minutes of it. Just do something you've been putting off. And if you're going to be downsizing in your home, think about a little pocket to downsize, something very clear, like a pattern. So you're not like, I'm going to do the kitchen and you're just generally picking up. That's more in that 15 minutes a day. But when you're actually downsizing, you want to be very specific. Like you do the junk drawer. You don't do anything else but the junk drawer. Maybe you clean out the silverware drawer. You clean out a bookshelf. You don't do more than that. And when you clean it out, you actually clean everything out. You sort by categories, you downsize extras, anything you don't want, anything you don't use, anything you've been thinking about, things you don't even know what they are. You get rid of all those other things and then you clean it and then you reboot it gently. So when you put it back, you have a completed project, a completely completed project. And the next time you open up the junk drawer, you're going to be like feeling like $1,000,000. And then you have all those extras. At this point, it's really important to gather them up and go ahead and take them out of your house. If you're going to donate them, donate them. If they need to go to some other place in your house, because that's not where you have all of your tape measures is in the junk drawer. Maybe it's in the office or wherever. Put them where they all belong. So have categories. When I design or when I organize, it's so simple. Think of it this way. I love this this instruction. It was from Julie Morgenstern. And she says, when you design or you organize, think about kindergarten. You had a kitchen station, like a baking station, and you had a reading station, and you had a playhouse station. There was like specific categories. So whenever you're working in a kitchen or an office or a bedroom or even a junk drawer, every little things you had a little category, and everything had this little home where you stop having to make so many decisions. Does that make sense? So you have, like, in your home, you're doing gently consistent practice of just tidying up, keeping it clean, like in a kitchen, doing your dishes every day, picking things up off the floor, just untangling the day. So it just is calmer, it's smoother. Your nervous system is going to go way down by just that 15 minutes of tidying up. And then when you do a clean out, make sure you're doing something very specific when you're cleaning it out so you can see progress. I'd rather see you do something small and have it go all the way to completion than to tear up a big project and get halfway through it. The small wins will give you more strength and more clarity. And today, if you didn't do a very good job, maybe it just didn't feel good, the good thing about doing these little pockets, you're like, okay, how can I improve that? How can I make it more fun? What can I do? But you don't stop. You just keep trying it. And that's why the little pockets. So that way you're still, even on days where COVID happens and your internet breaks down and whatever, you still go for a walk. You still pick up the house. I mean, today's had a delightful array of things. I can't say this has been my most stellar day of all days, but I'm still going to tidy up. Matter of fact, you can tell I was out for a walk. I'm still going to go for a walk. You get these practices that on days where you don't feel good, those practices sustain you. And that's what I love. I love you being sustained. I'm going to be posting this article. It's on the growth equation. And this is that research I was talking about, self-compassion, of being kind to yourself. In this practice, this is tough work and it's consistent work. Margareta talks so brilliantly about pacing yourself, about going with how much energy you have, not feeling like you're behind, but giving yourself more space than you think. Like, she gave herself a whole year. Give yourself time, give yourself space. We're not in a race. Think about it. This is learning new skills and new habits. These will sustain you the rest of your life. So think about it. It's learning to sustain and being kind to yourself, and know that nobody's got a perfect home. Nobody's got a perfect life. We all feel a little bit behind in technical skills and things right now. All of us. We all have good days and bad days. It's just that human thing. By adding self-compassion, what did he say? He says it makes you fearless. So self-compassion is especially powerful when things are hard or when you experience failure. Why? Simple. When you fail, you are judgmental and you beat yourself up. All you're doing is, and just saying that all you're doing is wasting time. But if you're kind to yourself, you can simply get up, adjust, and go again. I was just talking to Amanda. She's not actually logged in right now, but I was talking to her and she said one of the schools of teaching like little kids is when they do something, like they take a test and maybe they didn't do good. Maybe they only got 50% right. Then they're like, okay, let's do the test again. Let's learn a little bit and do the test again. And then they just keep taking the test, not to punish them like they did something wrong, but like, oh, how can we improve it? How can we learn a little bit? That's exactly what we're doing, is not judging. We're learning to just think of it in curiosity and learning as we go. So you guys are amazing. I am so grateful to be part of this group. Your instincts and your feedback has been phenomenal. Next week, we're going to talk about either we're going to focus on kitchens or paper. We might do a little bit of both, but that was kind of the top thing of how do you keep your kitchen going, and paper. Paper is a biggie. And so this week, again, 15 minutes a day of practice being gentle, being compassionate, finding ways to make it more enjoyable, or you have more energy. And then if you do pockets of clean out, by all means do, if you have extra energy, but find time to at least to do one pocket of clean out. Make it small and make it complete, where you really feel like you've accomplished something. You're making progress. That's going to drop your stress down. This week, go ahead and read through to The Perils of Man Caves. I don't know what page that's on, but read all the way through from A Few Clothes to The Perils of Man Caves, 15 minutes a day. Add a little bit of kindness. If nothing else, breathe and hold good posture. Music always helps me, but everybody's a little bit different. Go with what your strengths are. And thank you. So I'm going to be posting a couple things on our group. Give us your wins. When you guys have something that goes great, bring it in. We're all doing this together. You are not alone. So by bringing your wins and your wisdoms, you're bringing everybody in to know that we're all doing this together. So thank you all. Thank you for your patience on me popping out. And I will see you next Thursday, next Thursday at 10. Have a great week.